Leicester produces career-best figures to put the Bears on top at the Kia Oval. Surrey's title defence is almost certainly over. Yet to pick up a victory this term, bottom of the pile Nottinghamshire are the only team to have a worse record. But their opponents for this round, Warwickshire, were within touching distance, just one place above them, 7 points ahead. The Bears limped to victory against Yorkshire last time out. They'd been cruising towards a routine win before a late collapse saw a nervy finish to a match they'd had in the palm of their hand. Oliver Hannon-Dalby had bowled well to pick up 9 wickets in a match for the first time, and with that in mind, in the cloudy, muggy heat of South London, Warwickshire elected to forego the toss and field first. The seamer was into his work immediately. England opener Rory Burns caught behind without scoring in the third over of the day. Leicester would follow that up with a second wicket a few overs later. Borthwick out LBW for 1. Mark Stoneman and Dean Elgar counterpunched well, taking Surrey past the 50 mark as they began to find the boundary with increasing regularity. But just when it looked like the innings had found some stability, another big wicket fell, Stoneman the man to go, edging Miles through to the slips, out for 33. In Ben Foakes, Surrey have a man able to adapt to any match situation, and he found a way to punish Miles, finding the boundary 4 times in 1 over to get his innings up and running in earnest. They'd navigate their way through to lunch without further loss. The morning session, a tough one for batting. The same pattern would persist after the interval. Elgar and Foakes managed to guide the side past 100, but Leicester would strike again with 2 wickets in 2 balls to leave the home side reeling. Elgar was first to go, Leicester's second LBW victim of the day, and then Sam Curran could only edge one down the leg side to depart without scoring. Foakes would follow, the England wicketkeeper caught at point for 30 for Hannon-Dalby's second of the day. Ricky Clark would bring some much-needed experience to the crease as he and Smith slowed the flow of wickets. But Clark would be beaten, Miles removing his off stump, the veteran beaten for pace and out for 8. Miles was back in the wickets a few overs later. Smith bowled for 19. And Surrey were now depending on Jordan Clark to bat with the tail, and he began to deal in boundaries. By the time he was removed, edging Leicester behind for 26, he and Morkel had managed to drag the side to within 1 shot of 200. But they'd fall agonisingly close, all out for 194. Morkel caught down the leg side off the bowling of Patel to bring the innings to a close and an early tea taken. They'd lost 7 wickets for 101 runs in the afternoon session and handed Warwickshire the initiative, but with conditions continuing to favour bowling, putting their hosts under pressure might have been easier said than done. The opening pair, Rhodes and Sibley, had set the tone for Warwickshire in their last match, and they'd managed to negotiate the oval conditions better than the home side, scoring quickly, finding 5 boundaries in the first 6 overs. Morkel was on the receiving end of a Rhodes on song. 18 runs in 4 balls saw the Bears power past 50 in just the 7th over of the innings. With Warwickshire in complete control, the umpires decided light was insufficient to continue. When they did resume, the Bears continued as they'd left off, Rhodes reaching 50 off just 60 balls. His lightning start would come to an end a few balls later, Clark giving Surrey something to celebrate as the Bears opener nicked through to Foakes to depart for 51. Once again the umpires would lead both sides from the field of play as the evening light deteriorated and there would be no return to action. A tough day with both bat and ball for Surrey brought to an end. Warwickshire then still on top, albeit having lost the impressive Rhodes. Toby Lester shone for the Bears, having joined from Lancashire on Friday. His figures of 4 for 41 represent his best ever return in first-class cricket. If the hosts hold any hope of a positive result, quick wickets will be key, with Warwickshire trailing by just 105 runs with 9 wickets in hand going into day 2. Stoneman 70 surges Surrey into slender lead after Warwickshire wobble. A hot and humid South London greeted Surrey and Warwickshire as they arrived at the Kia Oval for the second day of their contest. The sticky weather had helped the Bears restrict their hosts to 194 all out before Will Rhodes got his side off to a lightning start despite departing for 51. They'd resume the day at 89 for 1, but would have to be wary in conditions that favoured bowling. And one of Surrey's best exponents of the swinging ball, Morne Morkel, made a crucial early breakthrough for the hosts, Sibley gone for 33, edging to Ricky Clark at first slip. Yates and Hayne would look to rebuild for Warwickshire, and they looked in control as the pair traded boundaries. But their partnership was short-lived, Hayne out LBW to Jordan Clark. Hose and Yates counterpunched with 6 boundaries in 3 overs. But Morkel would bring their fun to an abrupt end. Hose caught at slip for 9. But Lamb wasn't able to stay with his partner, Sam Curran finding the edge, Folks holding on to ensure Warwickshire were 5 down as lunch was taken. The morning session belonged to Surrey, the side roaring back into the game after being put under pressure on day 1. It was Warwickshire's turn to sweat, and their afternoon session got off to the worst possible start. The set Yates gone for 48, Curran finding the edge once more. The umpires would take the players off, deciding that light had deteriorated badly enough for a brief delay in proceedings. But even the shortest of hold-ups can affect a batsman's concentration, and Miles would depart shortly after play resumed and edge through to Folkes, finishing him off with 20 to his name. 2 overs later, Ambrose followed, trapped LBW by Curran for 18. The tail exposed, Warwickshire's lead still in its infancy. Patel and Hannon Dalby would manage to add 13 runs before they departed within 4 balls of each other. Hannon Dalby's edge to Borthwick at second slip saw him depart before Morkel forced Patel to sky one to Burns at mid-off. The Bears all out for 230 with a lead of just 36. That would bring an early tea, Surrey pleased with an excellent performance with the ball in hand, a far cry from their exploits with the bat on day 1. The home side would get their second innings off to a quick start, rattling off the runs to reach parity after 7 overs, Burns and Stoneman in confident form. They began to accelerate, breezing past 50 and piling on the runs as the pair bullied Miles for a 6 and 3 fours off just 1 over. But with 2 left-handers at the crease, Jeetan Patel was always going to be a threat, and it was the Bears' skipper who would provide the much-needed breakthrough. Burns trapped LBW for 34. Stoneman's quick start had seen him race towards a 50, and he'd reached the milestone with a 4 off Leicester, his 57th in first-class cricket. Patel wouldn't let Surrey have it all their way, the skipper with another crucial wicket when Borthwick edged to Rhodes at slip to depart for 11. Stoneman would plough on though, leading the charge for the home side. He just ticked onto 71 when Hannon Dalby got one to rise up a length and find its way into Ambrose's gloves by way of an edge. Folkes would join Elgar at the crease. The pair would see Surrey through to the close as the light once again diminished. It had been Surrey's day. The humid conditions had helped their battery of seamers, and they'd done well to fight their way back into contention. With more of the same conditions predicted over the next few days, Warwickshire will be confident they can restrict Surrey's total and keep them within touching distance. That lead at the end of day 2 stands at 105, with a fascinating 3rd day of play ahead. Game in the balance as Surrey and Warwickshire end day 3 on an even keel. It was a stop-start day in London with intermittent pauses for bad light, and the lack of fluency seemed to benefit the home side, who managed to skittle Warwickshire out and build a slender 105-run lead by the end of play. They'd want a solid start to the day to build a secure second innings lead. Folkes and Elgar seemed to be in the mood as play began, picking up a boundary apiece off Hannon Dalby and Leicester. Elgar really got going when he fired 3 fours off 1 Toby Leicester over. But Folkes was struggling to find the same fluency, and he heaved Miles's first ball of the morning to backward point, out for 12. New-back Curran settled very quickly, taking a pair of fours off consecutive overs from Miles and Hannon Dalby. The pair were looking very settled and cruised past 200. An individual milestone came for Elgar as he moved to 50 off a pair of fours from Leicester, but his joy wasn't to last. The experienced South African tempted by a short ball and caught at square leg by Leicester. Curran was settled, and his free-scoring style quickly moved Surrey past a 200-run lead. An even morning session ended with Surrey having earned 102 runs for the loss of 2 wickets, leading by 207 with 5 second innings wickets still in hand. But those 5 became 4 immediately after the break, Hannon Dalby coming out hot and trapping Jamie Smith LBW. It wasn't the start the hosts wanted, but Ricky Clark went rampaging to rectify it, walloping 5 fours in 8 balls off Hannon Dalby and Patel to reclaim the session's momentum. Curran, meanwhile, continued his excellent knock, and with a 4 from Patel became the 3rd Surrey player of the innings to post a half-century, the impressive score coming from just 96 balls. But that was as far as he'd get. Fooled by a Miles short ball, his important mid-order innings was over, out for 52. Clark came in and joined his namesake in batting on the front foot, knocking 2 boundaries off his first 6 balls. But the 7th had him out, caught behind off Miles by Ambrose, the Warwickshire wicketkeeper's 1000th dismissal in first-class cricket. At the other end, an unsettled Morne Morkel could get no more than 6 before he became the next Miles victim, caught behind by Yates. Miles' 5th of the innings, an excellent haul off just 17 runs. Clark continued swinging hard, heaving 2 sixes off Jeetan Patel. But he had his revenge a ball later, removing Clark for a lightning-quick 49 off 46 and ending the Surrey innings for 325. The guests now needed 290 over the next day and a half for victory. The two made it comfortably to tea, unbeaten for 22, the guests building a good platform for victory with 268 runs required for their 3rd win of the season. It was a slow start after the break, with Warwickshire's new emphasis to gradually accumulate runs. Rhodes looked to be teeing off a little, hitting consecutive 4s off Batty. But 1 ball later he was out, trapped LBW for 43 after 100 minutes at the crease. New bat Yates had barely got himself set when he too was gone, caught behind by Folkes off the bowling of Morne Morkel. Yet more attritional cricket followed, with boundaries hard to come by and little for the bowlers to enjoy either. Warwickshire quickly moved within 200 runs of the win, with Hayne and Sibley at the crease. And just after his partner Sibley had moved beyond 50, Hayne was out, caught behind off Batty for 26. Miles managed a couple of quick boundaries before stumps were called. Warwickshire very much in the driving seat in the match, requiring just 142 on day 4, with 7 wickets left in hand. At this stage, it looks like it's theirs to lose. Batty takes 4 as Surrey complete dramatic turnaround for first win of the season. The game at the Kia Oval was wonderfully poised heading into the final day. Warwickshire 142 runs away from victory with 7 wickets intact, but on a pitch and with conditions that had offered something to both bowlers and batsmen alike, this was never a foregone conclusion. Sibley and Miles headed out to the crease. The night watchman Miles was an early departure, trapped LBW by Clark for 9. Hose was the new man in, and after a patient start he struck the first boundary of the morning off Clark. Sibley started to build on the half-century he'd brought up the night before, and the pair started to build a useful partnership that brought the required total down to 100. However, at this point the wheels fell off completely for the Bears. Curran trapped Hose LBW for 21. And 3 balls later sent Lamb on his way, bowled for a duck. A further 3 balls later, a mix-up between Ambrose and Sibley led to the former being run out by Borthwick, and the visitors had gone from 190 for 4 to 190 for 7 in the blink of an eye. Patel joined Sibley and immediately found the rope, but the opener was next to go, caught and bowled by Morkel for 73, leaving Surrey on the brink of a remarkable turnaround. Batty took the final 2 wickets as he had Patel stumped for 17. and then Hannon Dalby was caught and bowled for 8. Surrey victorious by 74 runs, Warwickshire's final 6 wickets falling for just 26. A resounding victory for the defending champions, their first of the season, and they take 19 points from the fixture, Warwickshire just the 4. The gap between the two sides at the bottom of the table is now closed to 8 points.